My shirt says Tokyo, Japan. I really like it. Honestly, I don't even know, like, I don't even know what that says in Japanese, because that could totally not say Tokyo, Japan. That could totally not be Japanese. It could really say dumb American. Why did I buy this shirt? Hi, my name is Twyla Moore. Welcome back to my channel if you are new here. For this week's video, we're going to be discussing the controversial film called Cuties. Unless you live underneath a rock, I'm pretty sure by this point you have already either A, seen this film for yourself, or B, at least heard about it because it has been trending recently like crazy. However, for those of you who may not be aware, Cuties is a French coming-to-age film that recently premiered on the streaming service Netflix. And from the beginning, Netflix's initial marketing of this movie, their poster, the trailer, and their description had a lot of people just not here for the film. After Netflix received a ton of backlash and negative comments over the way that they were initially marketing the film Cuties, they did give an apology. And in their apology, they pretty much said that their initial description of the film, along with the poster, was not a true representation of what this film was meant to relay and what it embodies. Netflix then changed the description, which is on their site right now. You can go read it for yourselves. And it pretty much sums up this entire movie to an 11-year-old girl joining a dance crew that's like free-spirited. And that description is more far off from this film than the first one. Initially, when people were upset about just the way that this movie was marketed, I honestly thought it was just a simple classic case of mass hysteria. There are so many times in society, especially now with all that's going on, where people will be upset about something simply because the person to the right and left of them are upset about that issue. And I thought that that was the case with Cuties. I initially was like, how can so many people hate this film before it even came out? And also, I just thought that there is no way that Netflix is going to allow a film on their streaming service that just so blatantly hypersexualizes children. Those two reasons alone led me to watching this film with an open mind. I was wrong, putting it plain and simple. Oh boy, was I wrong. And let's get into that. Cuties on paper is honestly just your traditional coming-to-age film. It follows an 11-year-old Senegalese French girl named Ami, who throughout the bulk of this film is being torn between her culture and her Muslim upbringing in the social media-driven world around her. Ami gets involved with the popular girls at her school and eventually joins their dance group called Cuties. These girls in this dance group, the Cuties, essentially offer Ami a sense of freedom that she hasn't really got to experience before. Throughout the film, we get to watch as Ami becomes completely obsessed with the Cuties and how she essentially loses herself to societal pressures to appear older and more sexual than she actually is. This is not the first time that we have seen a movie or a series with this premise. The 2003 film 13 essentially embodies the same spirit as Cuties, which is a young adolescent girl trying to figure out who she is and giving into societal peer pressures to be more grown or to be promiscuous or whatever the case may be. We know that society hypersexualizes young girls, especially young black girls. This isn't anything new. The problem with Cuties, in my personal opinion, is the way that this message is relayed in this film. During an interview that the director and writer of this film gave, she said that the point of this movie was to show, again, how society overly sexualizes young girls. And I saw this tweet about the film and I really wish I had screen grabbed it when I saw it, but essentially it says you cannot critique something and then turn around and do exactly what you're critiquing. You cannot criticize the hypersexualization of children and then turn around and then hyperly sexualize these kids. There were a lot of scenes in this film that just did not need to happen in order for the message of this movie to come across. How many times have you yourselves watched a film where you know off camera something bad is happening by context clues, by the camera and whoever it's angled on by their facial expression, you can tell that off camera something is happening that should not happen. And without you seeing that said situation, you are still having the gut reaction that you should have to that situation. And that is my biggest problem with this film, is that it just showed a lot of stuff that didn't need to be shown. In the end of the film, the climax scene, Ami and her friends are at this dance competition, the infamous one that's in the trailer, and they are just shaking their butts and doing the crybaby and a lot of just like promiscuous, overly sexualized dance routines. I'm not here to make the argument that that stuff does not happen. Now, I know that art is a mirror of reality. I get that. With that being said, as an artist, you still have a responsibility to what you are portraying. It did not need in this film to have the camera zooming directly in on these young girls' behinds and on their pocketbooks, trying to not get this video demonetized. That didn't need to happen. And that is my issue with this film, that it just continuously, in my personal opinion, took advantage of these young actors. A lot of these angles we did not need. A lot of these shots we did not need. And I promise you, if the camera just panned up a couple of notches, bruh, I promise you, it would not have pulled from the message. As I said before, this narrative of the movie of a preteen falling to pressures of society, it's nothing new. We have seen this in movies and TV shows time and time again. The issue here, however, is that this time around, it's not 30-year-olds playing 16-year-old kids. It's not a film where we can pick up on context clues and tell that something off camera bad is taking place. This movie, honestly, in my personal opinion, takes advantage of these children, the actors within this film. And I feel that the director, I don't know, I really don't get her reasoning behind doing that. There were a lot of aspects, culturally speaking, and a lot of paranormal things that took place in this film that I think, outside of the hypersexualization of children, truly does deserve to be watched more than once so you can dissect it and get the meaning of it. But the craziness of the hypersexualization of these kids completely overshadowed any of the other messages that are in this film. I honestly feel like Cuties had potential to be a pretty good film, if not an okay film. But again, I just feel like the director and the writer made artistic decisions that I myself cannot stand behind and just cannot support. However, if you watch this film and you were moved by it, or maybe you just had a completely different experience while viewing it, please, by all means, feel free to comment that down below. I would love to get a conversation going on whatever your opinion about this movie may be. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Do I think that Netflix should remove this movie from its streaming service? I don't think anything would be missed if it did. If you would like to keep up with me in between my video postings, please feel free to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, both at Twyla Moore. Also feel free to follow me on TikTok at Twyla Moore as well. That is it for this week's video. I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I will see you in my next uploading.